Good morning. Today we are going to start working on the pile of clothes that we thrifted in my last thrift video. And I will be showing you guys all of the pieces that I want to get through today. But first, we need coffee and we need to pick up some supplies. For the coffee, it's finally September. By the time you guys are watching this, it's probably mid-September, but technically today is September 2nd for me. And I think today is a good day to go and find a pumpkin spice latte. And then I think I want to go walk on the beach. And then we can go and get our craft supplies and start our day of crafting. I think I kind of want to make this like a thrift flip marathon and just try to knock out as many pieces as we can today. So let's go. Well, that was a nice little treat. I feel like I take it for granted, the fact that I live so close to the beach. It's maybe a 10 to 15 minute drive, but I can only really go early morning or evenings for sunset because during the day, the crowds are just insane. But I forgot how nice it is to go early mornings when there's hardly anyone on the beach. The morning sun is coming up. I had my pumpkin spice latte. It doesn't taste very pumpkin spicy. It's good, but it's a very mild flavor, which I guess is a good thing. It's not overly sweet. But speaking of sweet, I did get a donut. Ironically, this donut is called the Sandy Beach. It's gonna be a good day. And I'm in the craft store parking lot right now. I need to get some things. I'm gonna do that real quick, and then I can show you guys all the pieces that I want to work on today. Okay, we got what we needed from the craft store. And now I can go over all of these pieces with you. Like I said, I want this to be a marathon. So we're gonna get through as many of these as we can, but whatever I can't get through today, it'll be posted in the next alterations video. So the first one I wanna work on today is going to be this brown button down. And it has brown embroidered flowers on it. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's kind of like a sheer material. It feels like linen, but it says 80% rayon, 20% nylon. And then it says inner is 100% polyester, which I'm confused by because this is not double lined. So what do you mean the inner is polyester and then the outer is rayon and nylon? I don't really understand that. But I thought this would be really fun to turn into a skirt, maybe something with a ruffle kind of like this. And then instead of doing an elastic waistband, I thought maybe I would do a zipper. That way there was no chunky elastic. I think that's what we're gonna try to do with this fabric. And then next is this long sleeve shirt that I thrifted. The brand is Nancy Rose Performance. So I don't know if this is like yoga wear or dance wear. I don't know, but it's extremely soft. So I was thinking of maybe cutting out the neckline, making it wider, that way it was more off the shoulder, and then cutting the length a little bit just so that it's not extremely long, and then also cutting the sleeves so that they're not draping over my fingers. And then we have this maxi skirt. It is polyester, so the material is not great, but I thought the pattern was really cute. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with this fabric yet. I could turn it into like a boho flowy top, or I could turn it into like a midi or a mini skirt with a bunch of like ruffles hanging down, kind of like this. So we're still gonna brainstorm this piece. The next one is just this alpaca wool cardigan. I really liked the colors and the pattern, but it just has a bunch of pilling. So I'm gonna try to shave off as much of this pilling as I can. And there's also a few pulls in the wool. So I was thinking of maybe using my loop turner and then pulling it to the inside so you at least can't see it. Just to kind of clean this up a little bit. So this will probably take like 5 minutes. And then we have this button down. I really like this pattern. It's like a paisley. I feel like we have enough fabric here to maybe make 2 tops, or maybe I could make a top and then like a little headscarf accessory or a belt accessory, because I've been really liking the look of scarves as belts. So if we have some extra, maybe I can make a top and then a little matching scarf belt. And I think that would be cute. We're gonna start with this brown button down and we're gonna start mapping out how we can turn this into a skirt. I definitely feel like we have plenty of fabric here to make a mini skirt. I want the waistband to kind of look something like this and then have like 1 or 2 ruffles. I don't have to make this tiered, but I would like to have like 2 tiers, so like 2 rows of ruffles. But I just need to make sure that I have enough fabric to make 2 rows. I think my best plan of action for this is going to be to just deconstruct the whole thing. I'm gonna lay this flat, cut off the sleeves, I'm gonna cut the collar out, and then I can kind of determine what pieces to use for what. So let's start cutting her up. Campy, come over here. No. And here's what we're working with now that we cut the arms off. And then for the top of this, I tried to square it off as best I could just to make it easier to work with and kind of decide how much usable fabric I had. And I'm thinking maybe from the underarm up, I can cut that and use it as the waistband portion. So I'm gonna test it out. So after clipping this side, unfortunately, this side cannot be clipped. So the portion above the arms I cannot use as the waistband, but I know that the portion below the arms will be wide enough. So I'm thinking what I can do instead is use this fabric above the underarm for the ruffle. And since the fabric will be scrunched, it won't be as noticeable where the seams are. Okay, so I unbuttoned the front of this, and this is the portion that was below the arms after we cut it. But if I use the front where the buttons are, and then use this as my waistband, I think this top portion will just barely be wide enough. And then this portion with the holes from the button, this will be the top back of the skirt. And where these buttons are, I'm gonna cut about 6 inches and then cut straight across. And then I will do the same thing to the other side where the button holes are. And I'll measure 6 inches and then cut straight across. Okay, so I'm gonna measure about 6 inches. So this will be the back of the waistband and this will be the front of the waistband. And I'm just gonna seam rip off these buttons so that we can have a smooth surface. So now if I put the good sides together, I can sew a straight stitch along this side seam here. And for my settings, I have my tension set to a 4. My stitch length is between a 3 and a 2, and obviously we're gonna do a straight stitch on the side. This fabric is not stretchy at all, hence why the zipper is so important for this. And I'm gonna be going over all of my raw edges with my serger after. But if you don't have a serger, you can go over the raw edge a couple times with a zigzag stitch. You just want the zigzag stitch on the raw hem so it doesn't come unraveled. So here's the side of our waistband after we attached it. So this is where the side seam is. And then on this side here, we're gonna have our zipper. There is gonna be some loose fabric up at the waist. It fits around the hips, but right now this is pretty squared off on the sides. But I'm not gonna worry about taking in the waist until after because I figured I can just add a couple darts to the back. That way it's symmetrical on both sides. And then from this part down, we can start attaching our tiers for the skirt. And we have plenty of fabric to do that. If I fold this into thirds like this, and I think this would be a good length for the skirt to give us a similar look to this. But as far as the width goes, I don't think there's gonna be enough width to give us a ruffled effect. So we're gonna have to cut open the sleeves and the scrap fabric and just see what we have to work with to add extra panels. That way we can actually get it to look ruffled. Okay, now I'm going to try to do the teeniest, tiniest rolled hem on this because we don't have a lot of seam allowance to work with. And this is how our little rolled hem turned out. This is from the outside. So we lengthened these panels, which are going to be the tiers. This will be the length of our skirt. This will be the second tier. And these are going to be scrunched. And then this will be the waistband. So I feel like it's kind of coming together. I'm going to do a basting stitch along the top of each of these. So for the basting stitch, we're going to lower our tension. I'm going to put it at between a 2 and a 1. And then I'm going to put my stitch length out of 4, so I want a wider stitch length. And we're not gonna lock the stitch to start or to stop because we wanna be able to pull the string, and that's gonna help us scrunch the fabric. Now we can start at one end and we're gonna grab one string and we can start gathering the fabric. And the goal is to scrunch this up and make it fit in the width of the waistband. So now to get the length right, I'm just gonna put the good sides together and I'm gonna add one clip to each side and then I can evenly distribute the fabric. And now I'm just gonna add a clip every couple inches, kind of hold it together. Now we have that first ruffle tier lined up with the band. And now we can sew a straight stitch along this part here to connect the two pieces together. Okay, here's our little progress update with our first ruffle layer. So far, so good. Now we just need to do the exact same thing with this piece, and this is going to give us a little bit more length. Okay, now that we pretty much have the body of our skirt completed, we're just gonna put the good sides together and do a straight stitch down this side here, and then we can insert our zipper. Okay, so now this is the side seam where we're gonna add our zipper, and I went ahead and pressed this seam open. Now we can take this zipper and we're gonna put it face down over this. They didn't have a brown invisible zipper, so we're just gonna go with black. And I'm gonna use a standard zipper foot, so I'm going to attach one side to the right of the seam, and then I'll attach this side to the left of the seam. Now we can seam rip the center seam. We can use a pair of tweezers and pull out all of these little loose threads here. But now we have a functioning zipper. Okay, we are almost finished. This portion here, we still need to take this in. Unfortunately though, this part of the waistband is too tight and it won't go any lower. I was hoping that the top of the skirt would sit about here, but it's gonna have to be high-waisted, so we're gonna have to take it in where it is now. It's still gonna work as a skirt and it's still gonna be cute, but it's definitely gonna be even shorter than I anticipated. So I will be wearing this with shorts underneath. I think it'll look cute, and I actually feel like it's gonna look really good with the top that I have on right now. Maybe just styled with some different jewelry and accessories and maybe some boots. So to make this fit around the waist, I'm gonna make 2 darts in the back. And to help me determine how much to take off, I'm gonna pinch the sides. So I have about 1 inch on each side pinched. So when I make my darts in the back, I'm gonna measure out 1 inch on each side. And I'm gonna try to place them as symmetrically as possible. And here's what those darts look like from the inside and then from the outside. In my mind, I pictured this being like a festival outfit. I've never been to a festival, but if I was gonna go to one, I think I would wear this. So it is higher waisted than I wanted it to be, but I paired it with this little resin necklace and then my gold waist chain and then my Steve Madden boots. These are the Riggs boot, and we still have both of these sleeves to work with, but I think I'll save the sleeves for another day. And I think next I wanna work on that striped long sleeve top. So I thrifted this long sleeve shirt. It's super soft, but the sleeves are so long and then so is this part. So I think I just want to shorten it to like maybe to here. So I think off the sleeves, I'm going to take off like 4 inches off of each sleeve. And I like how it's already off the shoulder, so I really don't feel like I have to do anything to the neckline. I think I want this portion to come to like the top of my jeans. So I'm going to make a little mark. And I have the sleeves folded to where I want them. And I'm just gonna mark one sleeve and then I'll take the same amount off of this one. So for my side stitch, I'm going to use stretchy thread and I'm going to lower the tension to a 1. I'm still going to use a straight stitch though. Since this has a lot of horizontal stretch to it, I think it'll be fine. So now when we stretch the fabric, it doesn't cause any rippling. And now I can use my serger to do the arms and then the bottom hem. I'm just going to be using this on my rolled hem setting, and I could rethread this with black. I feel like it would match better. The rolled hem around the neckline is black, but I have this like greenish gray, which is really close to the lighter stripe in this. So we're going to try to keep it as is and see how it turns out. If we don't like it, we can rethread it with black and then do it again. And here's what the new hemline looks like on the sleeves. I feel like the color matches pretty well. I decided to also redo the hemline along the neckline here, and then I just redid it with the same color we have around the sleeves and then the bottom hem as well. And I do feel like when I redid the neckline, it stretched it out a little bit, so it's even wider than it was before, which I think is fine. I did want it to be off the shoulder, so now it's definitely off the shoulder. And I love this because the fabric is so soft, and I feel like for just a very casual long sleeve shirt, I feel like this will be perfect for fall. So now this is going to be our next little project. This one's going to be really quick and simple. There's just a few areas like here where the yarn is pulled, and I want to use my loop turner to turn them to the inside so you can't see them. And then I want to try to go through this fabric and get rid of as much of this pilling as I can and just clean it up a little bit and get her ready to wear for fall. Again, it's going to be a while before I can comfortably wear this in Florida, but I just thought the colors were too perfect. I think it's going to be so cozy. So here's an area where there's a pull on the outside. Now I'm going to use my loop turner to turn this on the inside. I'm going to wrap this around. Now I can pull it through. There. So now it's hidden from the outside. And now I'm just going to go through and do this to any other pulls that I see. This is the tool I'm going to use for the pilling. It has little razor blades on the inside of this. So when you go over pilled fabric, it cuts the pilling. And then it collects all of the lint in this little part here. I'm pretty sure I got this on Amazon, and if I can find it, I'll link it below. So this was all of the lint and pilling I was able to get off of this one sweater. And now I feel like it looks like it's in perfect condition. And then this is how I would pair that wool cardigan. I paired it with this like grayish blue long sleeve top. I think it's just a basic long sleeve from Cotton On. And I wanted to pair it with boots that didn't have a big heel. So I feel like these are very casual knee-high boots. So yeah, this is pretty much my exact vision for how I wanted to style this cardigan. Okay, so two things I want to mention real quick. First, those sleeves from the first top we worked on, I am going to be working on them in this video. I'm going to be working on them next. I want to use both of these sleeves and make a halter top out of them. Also, I ordered this bag off of Depop and it finally came in the mail. I'm so excited about this. I just recently made a Depop account. It will be linked below if anyone's interested. I will not be selling any pieces that I alter, but I have thrown a couple things on my Depop that I just don't wear anymore. This is a true Y2K suede bag. And I love the size of her. There's so much room in here. And I feel like it does actually match this outfit. Okay, so I opened up both of the sleeves. And for one, I think I want to use one as like the body of the top. And then for this one, I want to cut it in half down the center and then attach one side like this to the body of the top and then one side like this. And I also have this really long scrap piece from when I made the skirt, and this can also be used to make the ties. I think we have enough to do this, so I'm just going to start chopping this up and attaching the pieces together, and I'm going to cross my fingers that it actually looks like a top. So hopefully you can kind of see the shape that I'm working with. And basically what I'm going to be doing is attaching these like this with the good sides together. And I'm going to sew along here and then do the same thing to this side. But before I do that, I want to hem these raw edges. So before we attach these pieces to the body of the top, I want to gather the bottom of this fabric just to give a little extra room for the bust. And I'm just going to take a needle and thread and I'm going to sew by hand, weaving in and out. And then we're going to pull the string to gather it as much as we need. So now with the good sides together, I'm going to clip this part here and I'm going to clip this part to the center. So now we can do our straight stitch along this portion here, and then we'll do the same thing to this side. Okay, progress update. I tucked the top into my shirt so that it would stay up, but I really like how this part here is looking. I ended up doing a top stitch over this seam, and I feel like it just makes it look a little bit more clean and finished. So next we need to figure out what to do about the back, because right now I have the front of a top, but we're very, very limited on fabric for the back. But I think I can get away with cutting it to about here, and then I have all of this fabric here to work with to make 2 side panels that will connect in the back with a tie. Okay, so we attached our little side panels, and then in the back where I'm holding it, this is where my tie will be. And I think that will be enough fabric for the back of this top. So for the ties that I'm going to attach here and here, I'm going to use this portion of that scrap fabric. And this is where the bottom hem was. So I think if I fold this part in to the center and then fold it again, and then do a straight stitch down, we won't see any of the raw edges, and we'll be able to get a pretty thin strap out of this. And now I can just hem these sides, and then I'm going to sew the other end of these to the corners. Progress update after we added our ties to the back. Now we just need to figure out this top part here. I already folded this side in. I'm going to use this scrap piece for the back of the neck. I don't need this long of a piece, but this is all I have left over, so I'm just going to use whatever I need from it. And I decided instead of twisting the top of these, I'm going to fold them in until it's the same width as this piece. And then I'm going to attach this like this, and then attach this side. To make the top of this side look like the top of this side, I'm going to take the 2 sides and I'm going to fold them in. And then like an accordion, I'm going to fold it like this. And then I'll do the same thing to this side. And to keep both sides gathered like this, I'm going to do a straight stitch across the top of each side just to keep it in place. And from the front, here's what the top of each side looks like. And I'm going to start by attaching one side to this neck piece. And I'm going to do a straight stitch at the top. One side is attached, so now I'm just going to bring it around to the other side. I want it to be pretty snug. I feel like this would be good. I'm going to put a little clip right here so that I know where to attach it. Okay, pretend like I have on brown leather boots. I don't have them yet, but I did order a pair and they're coming in the mail. But I thought that this paired perfectly with this maxi skirt that I thrifted in my last thrift haul. It's like a tan linen, and I love this built-in belt detail. And I'll show you guys how the back looks. I didn't plan on making this a matching set with the skirt that I made from that top, but I figured just for funsies, I will try them on together and maybe they will look cute paired together. We'll see. Okay, not bad as a 2-piece matching set. It kind of just looks like a halter dress. Let me know what your thoughts are on if you think that this looks good as a matching set or if you like them better styled separately. I was hoping I could include this shirt in today's projects, but I wasn't expecting to make 2 tops out of that 1 button down. So that button down ended up being a 2-for-1. So I think these 3 pieces will have to be next week's video. So stay tuned for that one, and until next week, bye!